Hi, Amy with AJ's Vintage Designs here in Fashion Toppings with another Thrifted Trash to Treasure or Thrifted Transformation, whichever you want to call it. But a lot of people are doing the Trash to Treasures, so I thought I would share with you what I'm going to be working on this week. I actually got this at a garage sale for $5, this cute little clock with a handle on top. I got this for $5, but then I also got this for $5. Now these are fake little bands, so I'm gonna paint these, but I'm gonna paint this and I'm gonna reupholster it too. It's a storage little footstool, but it's heavy, so it's strong enough that you can sit on it. But I'm gonna reupholster this and I'm gonna paint the body. I'm gonna paint this clock to give it a little bit of an update, and I might even add a little transfer to it just to kind of spice it up a little bit. But I paid $5, so $10 total. $5 for this and $5 for this. Oh geez, did you see that? Look at the dust come out of it. So it's always fun to do a trash to treasure. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we need to do is we need to clean these pieces. This I'm going to go ahead and the body here and then the body here I'm going to be cleaning with Dixie Belle's White Lightning. Dixie Belle carries a cleaner that's called White Lightning. It's a powder. You pre-mix it into a water jug, which I need to mix some more here in a second. But you pre-mix it into a water jug. A little goes a long ways. I'm gonna be spraying these down, cleaning it with the White Lightning, which is a Dixie Belle cleaning product. And then whenever you know you're gonna be painting a piece and you've cleaned it, you always have to go over it with a wet washcloth, with just water. Clean, wet washcloth. That will remove any cleaning residue that's left on your surface, because cleaning residue can cause a barrier between your surface of your whatever piece you're painting and your paint. And you might have problems down the road with your paint sticking. So make sure whenever you clean a piece, you always then, after you've cleaned it, go over it with a wet washcloth, just plain water, and remove any residue. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna get started with doing some painting. Okay, my pieces are clean. I'm gonna start off with the clock. I did take the back off of it just so it'd be easier, because it's got a lot of little, like those little frame swivel things that holds the plastic on. I just don't like to mess with those, you know, and move them around when paint's wet. So I'm gonna paint around them and I'm gonna paint the separate, and then I'll put it on after it's dried. Okay, so I'm gonna paint this white. And what I'm thinking is I'm gonna paint it white, and I'm thinking about putting a the French ceramic floral transfer on here. Okay, and what that transfer looks like, it's a blue floral pattern, and that's what I'm thinking about putting on the clock. Okay, so I want to use white, because white is a very, you know, easy color to sell, especially if you're going to be selling these trash to treasures. And it's also a very neutral color for you to put it in any room in your house. So I'm gonna go ahead and be doing fluff. Fluff is actually Dixie Belle's white. It's not their whitest white. Their whitest white is called cotton. And then the next whitest color is called fluff. And then it gets creamier from there. Then it goes to buttercream, drop cloth, and so they have a huge selections of whites, creams, and beiges that you can choose from. But today I'm using the color fluff. I'm using a small brush because I don't want to have to tape anything off. And this will probably take 2 coats because I am painting over black. And this is a wood clock, but it has kind of a plasticky feel to it. It's not an expensive antique clock by any means, but we're gonna make it look pretty. Okay, and this, just so that you know, all I did was clean. No sanding is required when it comes to painting with Dixie Belle Paints. You do not have to sand. If your surface is very slippery, and like on this little metal that we have here, there is a product called Slick Stick. And that will, all you do is put Slick Stick on your very slippery surface, and it makes it paintable. You don't have to sand anything to prep your piece for painting when you're using the Dixie Belle Paints. Okay, this is gonna look so pretty. This black was just, and it looks like someone might have spray painted this in the past, because I can see the change of colors as far as textures. But we're gonna make it look good. base of the clock, I just need to be, I'm not taping it off, but I'm just gonna be very careful. And if I do get paint on it, I'll take a paper towel, like just right there. Me talking, I just did that. I'm gonna take a paper towel and wipe it off. It's very forgiving. And if you're using glass, then you can also use a razor blade. You don't want to do that on plastic though. You want to use a wet wipe and just wipe it off. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a second coat on this after it dries, and then when that second coat has dried, I'll be back and I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, so while the clock is drying, let's go ahead and start tackling this beast. When I'm doing the trash to treasures, I don't want to have to go out and buy anything to do my transformation. And I flip furniture, so I always have paint left over. I'm like a little bit left in this container, but I'm always using paints that I have around the house or leftover transfers that are from a furniture piece that I did. So I don't like to buy anything new. And I happen to have this bolt of fabric that I got at an estate sale. And look at the flowers on it. Isn't that gorgeous? Well, I was thinking, you know, I can do a lot of whites. You know, whites sell, but we're hitting right into the spring, you know, the spring season. And I kind of like the farmhouse, you know, shabby chic, you know, that type of look. And so I'm gonna be using Dixie Belle's Kudzu. And it's a really kind of a soft green. I have a little bit of it left. It matches the green and the flowers. And then maybe doing a wash of buttercream over it. Now these are all Dixie Belle paint colors. So when I say buttercream, I'm not talking about cooking buttercream. I'm talking about a nice creamy paint called buttercream. And then Kudzu is a color of paint. It's the green called Kudzu. And these are all Dixie Belle products, Dixie Belle colors. So this fabric, I got the entire bolt at an estate sale, and I paid $5.98 for the bolt. And so I'm gonna go ahead and use this, since this is what I have around the house. I have enough fabric. I think that this would be a nice spring and, you know, farmhouse shabby chic look. So let's go ahead and let's do something different. I'm gonna do it with these colors. So let's start off by doing some Kudzu. Or should I say we're gonna be doing green. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is this metal paint is gonna have a tough time sticking to the metal. So I am going to just put a little bit of Dixie Belle Slick Stick. Now Slick Stick is a bonding primer, and it's just called Slick Stick, but that is a Dixie Belle product, and it's called Slick Stick, but it's actually what it is. It's a bonding primer. A bonding primer is a primer that has agents in it that allows you to paint on slippery surfaces like glass, metal, plastic, formica, laminate. This, you put it on any of those slippery surfaces and your paint will stick. So it's a bonding primer, and it's called Slick Stick. Okay, and I'm just using Dixie Belle's mini brush. It's a synthetic brush, and I'm just going to paint right on that metal. If I get it on the areas around the metal, that's okay, as long as it gets on the metal. I don't need to have this primer on the rest of the piece because Dixie Belle's chalk paint is a chalk mineral paint. It'll stick to any surface without having to be sanded, except for when it comes to like the metal and glass. We want to prime it because we want our paint to be able to stick and not have any problems later down the road. So I'm gonna take this top off here, just because it's so heavy. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to put this on nice and neat. As long as it's smooth with no drips, you're good. Okay, look at this bottom. Okay, so now I need to let that primer dry before I go on to the next step. And this will only take maybe 20 minutes to dry, and then I'll be able to come back and we'll start painting the green on. So let's let this dry and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's go ahead and start working on this. My slick stick or the bonding primer has dried onto the metal. I'm going to be using the green, which is the kudzu color. And I don't have much in there, so a little bit of paint goes a long ways. The trick is keep your paintbrush misted or slightly damp. Not really wet, just slightly damp, and your paint will go so much farther. I'm using the Dixie Belle Oval Medium paintbrush. And we're going to just paint it all green, and then I'll let it dry, and we'll come back tomorrow, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put this paint on real quick, and then we're gonna let it dry, and then we'll start making a plan for the next step, what we wanna do. Okay, so I have one coat on this. I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. It's definitely gonna need a second coat, but I still have enough paint. I'm on a mission. I'm gonna finish this with just using 1/5 of this container. So I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna come back and I'll put a second coat on it, and then it should be good to go, and we can decide what our next step is. Okay, I'm back, and my clock is dry. I've got 3 coats of fluff, Dixie Belle's white on here, the white chalk paint, and my green barrel is drying right now, so I'll show you that in just a minute. We'll be working on that, but I wanted to show you that this, I've only paid $5 for this, so I could turn around and flip this right now and make a pretty good profit on it, just leaving it white, because it has that farmhouse feel. Farmhouse, little white items sell quickly. So this is a good way to, very easy makeover and also be able to make money off of it. But I'm gonna take it one step farther. I'm all about using stuff that I have around the house. And I have leftover, these are Prima Redesign transfers. I use this one, I have another sheet here. The packages you buy come with like several sheets in them, not just one sheet. So what you can do is, I'm gonna decide where I want it. I'm gonna wrap it, I'm gonna put one just on one side here. And I need to decide what size I want. So I'm gonna lay it on here and where I want the flowers at. Okay, so I'm gonna want it to look like that, just wrapped around the edge slightly. Okay, hopefully this helps with the glare. Okay, so we're gonna wanna put the transfer on here, and what I've done is I'm gonna set the transfer where I want it. And right now it's got paper on the back, and that's how it comes. You don't wanna take that paper off until you know exactly where you want it, because once you set it on here, it's gonna stay on here. Okay, so I'm gonna set it on here the way I want it. And just so that I can kind of know where to cut, I'm going to take just I'm taking an ink pen just because it has a sharp tip. So I'm taking an ink pen, and I'm just gonna run it along. I know I want it to put around the clock. So I'm going to draw a line. It draws a line, but it also kind of scores it and leaves a line so that I know. I don't know if you can see the little indent. See the little indent right along here? Right there is a big indent. I'm gonna cut right along there so I know that it's gonna fit just right. Take the back off of it. And these are clear, so you're gonna be able to see my white paint through it. I'm gonna set it on here where I want it. There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna just press it with my fingers. Wrap around the back. Okay, now, it comes with one of these little sticks that you use to press it on. And if you've watched any of my videos over on the Dixie Belle YouTube channel, you'll see that I actually applied the same stencil on the front of a white dresser, also painted in fluff, and it just turned out gorgeous. It sold right away. So all you're doing is pressing your image onto your surface. Now remember, I have no top coat, no sealer on here. All I have is my white chalk paint, which is the Dixie Belle Fluff. That's all I have on here. I have nothing else on here. You're just gonna keep rubbing it until your image starts coming loose from the plastic. And I am going to keep going around the edge. And see, all I'm doing is rubbing it. It's like those little tattoos when you were a kid. those little rub-on tattoos, but you use water. Well, this isn't water. You're just rubbing it and the image is gonna come off. If you see an air bubble inside there, an air bubble between the plastic and the image, that's a good thing. That means the image has released. Otherwise, you're gonna have to just check it as you go. I'm gonna check it just here in a second once I kind of get all over the place. Be careful not to scratch off of your transfer, because then you'll scratch your paint off because you haven't sealed it yet and it hasn't cured yet. Okay, let me see how it's doing. Voila, look at that. Okay, I know there's a glare, so let me bring it in forwards. See, isn't that pretty now? Goes all the way around the back. See, so I got this little floral print on there. Which really takes it to the next level. I think I'm gonna put another one on the opposite side of here. Let me do this again. I have a little scrap right here. Let me see how that would look. Oh, that would look perfect. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna cut it. Okay, so now doesn't that look fantastic? Got the ceramics, and that even wraps around to the back a little bit. I gotta put my back on it yet, but isn't that gorgeous? Okay. The next step for this would be to put a top coat on it. Okay, now to finish this up, and the only thing I have left to do to this is to seal it, and it's ready to go. I'm not gonna distress it or anything. The last thing I need to do is put a top coat on it. And what I mean by top coat is this is Dixie Belle's water-based top coat sealer, and it's called just top coat. And it's a clear coat, and I'm using the sheen in satin. And it's just a water-based sealer. And we wanna make sure that we seal this image in. That way, none of the edges could get peeled up over time, you know, with use. You want it to last. So I'm putting one coat of Dixie Belle's clear coat, their sealer, in the sheen of satin. You can use any of the sheens. They have gloss, flat, and satin. And there we go. Okay, now let's work on our little bench. Okay, so I love this color green. It's gorgeous, Dixie Belle's Kudzu. And I want to dress it up a little bit by adding some buttercream to it. And that is one of Dixie Belle's creamy colors. It's kind of a creamy white. One stage off of the fluff what I use on the clock, but it's more it's a creamy color, you can see right here. So if I accidentally call it buttercream, you know I'm talking about not the food, I'm talking about the color. It's a creamy color. It's from Dixie Belle. I like to use the clear jars so I can see what I'm doing and how I'm measuring it. To make my wash, I'm just gonna put a big spoonful of paint in here. Okay, so I got just very little paint down there, so I'm gonna add water to it. So it's about a 50-50 ratio, more water than paint actually, because I want it really watered down. I just want to make a wash. And I'm gonna shake it up really good, get all that paint and that water dissolved together. Okay, you're gonna need a chip brush, and you're gonna need a lint-free rag. I always use torn up t-shirts. And we are just going to dip our brush into our little really watery mix. I'll tip this up so you can see it. And I'm just going to drag. See, I'm just gonna drag. See those brush marks? Just adding some texture to it, and I'm gonna go back and wipe it off. So it kind of just leaves streaks. We're gonna do it over the entire piece. I do not have a top coat on here, so this is soaking right into the green paint as I'm putting it on, but it's gonna give it a nice washed effect. I'm gonna take this wheel out of here. I have a wheel here so I can move it around. Okay. So, I'm gonna keep doing this all the way around. We're gonna do small sections and then wipe it back. I'm trying to look in the camera and do it just based on looking in the camera, not looking at the piece, so. Okay. See how it just kind of gives it a little bit more texture. You know, I could have left this completely just green, but I didn't want to leave it that way. I like to have fun and play. And why not show you guys some options? Okay, so I'm just gonna do this all the way around. Okay, I got a quick tip for you. If you happen to get an area that got too dark, you applied it and you didn't get it wiped off soon enough, and it might have, I'll try it right here, where you might have a streak that's darker than all the rest. Here's how you would fix that. You just take a little bit of water. You can take a wet rag or you can just mist a little water on there. Water reactivates the paint, and you can wipe it again, and that will correct any mistakes that you might have gotten on here. So let's work on the top of this little stool here. Normally, if you are, like this cushion right here, if I was gonna be covering it with a thick fabric that isn't see-through, I wouldn't remove this fabric. If this fabric is in decent condition, I would leave the fabric and just upholster over it. But since I'm using that floral baby blue fabric, you can see this through it. So I do need to remove this. So I'm just going to take a little razor blade and I'm gonna cut off. It's a lot easier than pulling every staple. So I'm just gonna cut off this top fabric. Okay, so what I've done is I took some quilting batting, which I'm gonna be putting on top of this old fabric. I took it outside, knocked all the dust off of it. This is just discoloration because it's so old. And I don't wanna take it off because it's a hard type of batting that's underneath it. So, and it's kind of cool, someone can see the history. This is really old fabric. And so I'm going to just put some quilted batting over it. And I'm not wrapping it underneath because I have a lip here that has to fit down in the barrel, and if I make it too thick, the lip won't work. So I'm just cut it to cover the top. There we go. It'll stretch when I pull it. Okay, and I cut the fabric bigger than the cushion, see? So that I have extra fabric to fold over. Okay, I've got it where I want it. I'm gonna grab the whole thing and quickly flip it over. Yeah. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna wanna do is I'm gonna staple at 4 different locations. I'm gonna staple one here, here, and here. So I can get one at each corner just to hold it in place. I am using a Boss Stitch electric plug-in a stapler, and I'm using, I just got some staples that are 1/4 inch narrow heads, in case you're wondering what kind of staples I'm using. Okay. And I do one at each corner, even though there's no corners to a circle, but one on each side. This helps hold it together. So I have one at each corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? Okay. And now I'm just gonna work my way around the edges and pull as I go. I might have to do some folding since we're going around the circle. I'm just tugging and working my way around the circle. Okay, I'm gonna work my way around the circle and just keep tugging, and I'm tugging like this to gather it until I get to the next staple. Okay, I'm gonna try to do it from this angle. Okay. So I'm gonna tug. Just pulling and working my way around the circle. Okay, it's kind of a hard view for you guys to be able to see right there, but see, I'm going right in that groove, just going right along it. Okay, and like I said, you can take lace and hot glue lace along this edge if you want to. If I was reselling this one, I would, but I think I'm keeping this one. I really love it. And it'll look cute in my little farmhouse. Okay, let's put it all together. Okay, well there you have it, another trash to treasure. 2 more items that I got at garage sales, spent $5 and $5, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully this inspires you to go thrifting, go garage sailing, or hit your local estate sales to decorate your house on a budget, or make a little bit extra money and flip these items for a profit. Either way, it's fun to do. Okay, well, this is Amy with AJ's Vintage Designs and Fashion Toppings. Down in the description box down below, I will have a list of all the paint colors that I use and the transfer, you know, where I got all of the products that I use, except for the fabric. I got that at an estate sale a long time ago. I believe it's either garage sale or estate sale. But so I can't tell you where I got the fabric. But as far as the paints and the transfers, I'll put all that information down below with my link to Dixie Belle if you want to check out their paints. And that's about it. Don't forget to check out my blog at www.ajsvintagedesigns.com and my Instagram and Facebook as well. All those links will be down below. Okay, well, once again, it's Amy with AJ's Vintage Designs and Fashion Toppings. Until next time, I hope you have a great day.